Hello, welcome back. DP World Tour picks and bets. Skylar, Hoke here. Tom Jacobs, my friend. We're coming off a heck of an Open Championship, man. What a last 4 days that was. St. Andrews was an absolute beaut. Cameron Smith with out of the year. I think him and JT's at the PGA probably the 2 rounds of the year. Your thoughts on what we saw over the weekend?
So I didn't see Saturday. So full disclosure, I was out Saturday afternoon, evening, and didn't see the Saturday, which was, as a Cam Smith backer, it was kind of hard to check in on his score and see that everyone was kind of shooting on the par. He shot one over, right? So that was my first kind of fear. I was watching the final round of Rory, and the front nine, I just felt like he'd done it already. I just thought even though the putts weren't dropping, he looked so in control. He wasn't making stupid decisions. He was putting where he should have putted instead of chipping. He was, driving where he should have been driving. But he makes that turn and what happened? Everything was just driver wedge and was it 7 holes he went without a birdie? I think in the end, 11 or 8 holes, 11 to 18. It's just not good enough. And I know people will say he didn't make a mistake and Cam Smith kind of took it, and I get that. I'd say that's probably 70% of the reason, but there's 30% of it that he just wasn't good enough. If you can't birdie, I know he had to eagle the last, which kind of changed the way he played it, but if you can't birdie one of the par fives, one of the par fours, and the 18th from the back and kind of take it back in control, that I think is a problem.
Yeah, it was a predetermined way he was going to play, and he stuck with it all 18, and probably a roll or two away from it working out, and that's the tough part. And then we would sit here and say, how good was that? He just played
absolutely
exactly like he needed to.
Yeah, and that was what I was ready to say after the front nine. I was this is surgical. As a Cam Smith backer, I was this is over. The way he's playing is great. This is the most composed I've seen him in, major contention in a long time. And to be honest, really, he hasn't, as much as it's been such a long time since he's won a major, he's not really had as good a chance as he had on Sunday, I don't think, for a long time, certainly as long as I can remember. So, as much as, we expect him to win them, he hasn't really, had that in his grasp for a long time. So, and I felt like that showed on the back nine, unfortunately for him. And is it good in his press conference that he was saying that the better man just won and it felt good? Maybe. I don't know if that's kind of covering up the cracks a little bit. I don't know. It'll all tell when we see how he performs at Augusta in April, when he's got the next chance to do it. I mean, I saw someone, but I can't remember who it was, so forgive me if you're watching, but someone tweeted, I hope it's a Adam Scott moment where he kind of has the 2012 Open and 2013 Masters, but it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like he really threw it away. It just felt like he didn't execute when he should have done.
Yeah. It's not like you can say classic Rory in the way that we've seen it other times. I mean, the year was, it's hard. The only way he can say it was the only way so many of us will say it was a good year for him was he won a major, and winning golf is hard, but Cam straight up took it, unbelievable. Good for him. So that was deserving, especially after, it's probably a good thing you didn't see Saturday, Tom. I mean, it was, you just saw the excellence.
He lost strokes right on putting, which was a complete, difference to what he'd been doing previously. But I don't know. It just felt even Cam Young, just clutched up towards the end. You know what I mean? I feel if he can do it, I know there's less scar, but it's scar tissue now. It felt like if he had won yesterday, it's almost like a new lease of life. He won 4 or 5 very quickly, straight out the gates, had no scar tissue. Then when it started becoming a little bit more difficult, expectations were rising. That's when he struggled. And then it felt like if he could have just won yesterday when he had a really good chance to do it and was in control, then we go again and here comes 4 or 5 more and stuff. Now it feels like there's some question marks, which is tough, but like you say, it's literally probably 2 or 3 putts away from 3 in the end from just completely changing that outcome. I mean, the way he played for the first 3 days was great, right? So I don't want to dog on Rory too much. Otherwise, I think it was quite nice to see some of the names. I know Victor struggled on the Sunday, but it was great to see him kind of back in contention. I think it was good for him to have that first experience of being in a final group, a major championship. And then we just saw some guys that, people have kind of given up on for for a little while. You know, Bryson was there, DJ was there, Answer was there. They obviously all share something in common, which we don't really need to go into today. But you know, like they've showed that there is still life in them, and you know that's probably a good thing for the majors and maybe a bad thing for everything else. I'm not sure.
Well, I would say, the one thing they have in common, of course, is same as what Henrik Stenson now has in common. So if Ryder Cup, you're listening, Tom and I are available. We will step up. We will captain the team. Please give me a couple like additional selections to have, to fill out the roster. So
what they should do is they should make it mandatory to pick an Italian player.
Yeah,
and then your decision is more justified.
Yeah, who are they going to pick? Filippo Celli after?
It's going to be him, right? It can't be the other guy, can it? So,
but no, man, it's just a sad time in the world of golf when it immediately comes the topic again after an amazing Open Championship.
I think, that's the worst thing, right? Is that like I've had my opinions on it, and when there wasn't so much going on, but like the greatness of what he achieved yesterday is overshadowed by the rumours leaking. And if I'm completely honest, I think this situation was probably done 6 months ago. I think there was probably an Australian team already, sort of like we got the South Africans. I think they were just waiting for the Tour Championship to be done. And then you'll see Scott, Leishman, Cam and Day or whoever the four are come over. But now they've managed to leak it earlier because it's the most relevant time to do it. So it's tough. But, as we see with fields like this week and on both tours, it's a struggle.
In the struggle comes opportunity for us, Tom, to find some winners, like at the end of the day, it does still, means these guys are teeing up more guys that are getting spots in this event. We have a couple more Challenge Tour guys this week than usual, which I like. It does provide some interesting stuff for these guys. And I think that's actually one of the ways I think the solution to the PGA Tour can be is involving, the Korn Ferry Tour guys more, involving DP World Tour guys, like the Challenge Tour guys, get these opportunities this week and do have a category status that's deeper down the list, that they get those shots versus, some of the older guys who may have some dated exemptions.
I mean, who have been the best storylines recently? I mean, you had Chris Gosser up, you had Thigala, you've had Cameron Young yesterday. Like, these are all guys that are a year removed or not even removed from the Korn Ferry Tour yet. You've got Cole Hammer this week in the 3M Open that'll be looking to do the same sort of thing. They're the lifeblood, really. In terms of players 30 and above, they've all got decisions to make. These guys that are coming straight off the tour and not been picked yet are they're the life and soul. So like you say, there's definitely some Challenge Tour opportunities this week. There's a couple that we agree on, or at least one I think that we agree on. So that's great to see. And I think, like you say, that there does come an opportunity. I think the odds are not great this week, but there's definitely some intriguing plays that you can get involved in this week.
Yep. And I think with that, let's run right over to the Cazoo Open. I think so the last time we saw this would have been, it was 2019, right? And it was the Betfred British Masters at the time, won by Marcus Kinhold in a surprising fashion. He was really coming on to the scene in some ways. It's played at Hillside Golf Club, hosted by Tommy Fleetwood that week. And Kinhold, I think he birdied the last, right? Or did they go into a playoff and then he won? It was a tight finish. I remember Bob was in the mix. Matt Wallace was in the mix.
He birdied the last two after bogey in the two before that.
Okay. So then Matt Wallace was right in the mix. The memory that I have, Tom, so at the time I lived in Phoenix. So these events were, teeing off at like 10 p.m. my time. So in order to watch the leaders, you had to get up about 2-3 in the morning. Saturday maybe it was Saturday. It had to be Saturday because he was in the mix. The golfer who got to play with Tommy Fleetwood was Guido Migliozzi. Guido was like in somewhat of the mix after 36 holes. And all I can remember is I woke up at 3 a.m. to watch this, and they would show Tommy, but I would have to look for the ball mark on the green if Guido had a good shot or not. It was before shot trackers, before anything. So I definitely probably should have had a couple hours of sleep because I believe Guido definitely fell back from contention that week. But I do also remember the electric finish. Bob, this was kind of coming out stages for Robert McIntyre. early on there, finding that kind of himself in the mix. Then he lost to Byrne a couple of weeks later. It was really kind of a stretch run there. So it did bring in some long shots, and especially with a field like we have this week, it's just an interesting overall way you can kind of go for it, Bob. I mean, being right there at the top of the odds boards there with Oliver Becker, Romain Langasque. Is there anybody up top that really calls your name?
So I actually wanted to bet Robert McIntyre, which is, something I don't ever say. And, we've been in unison.
We've been hard on him the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
We have, right? And, but he was really positive at the Open. And, again, I felt like he was probably telling himself things that he wanted to hear rather than what he needed to hear. But like, he's got a new coach, which explains maybe why the inconsistencies are there. I think it's Eddie Pepperell's coach, or by the way, his coach is called Simon Shanks, so that's never the greatest, omen. But he was there, and then I just saw the 12-1. It was very quick to draw through it. He's just not that good to demand that kind of price. And then the other guy was Jorge Campillo, who is in different areas of the odds board depending on where you shop. But like, he was probably the other guy that I was really mainly considering, alongside maybe Richie Ramsey. But I think when you start getting sort of 20-1 Richie Ramsey, I think we're probably past that stage of his career.
See, I am laying a hammer up here, Tom. It's been a while since probably dabbled somebody this short in the odds, but it really feels like Thriston Lawrence has just been on a very, very strong stretch of golf that I hoped he might get a little bit overlooked in the odds because his finishes didn't really round up. Again, they're at the PGA Tour and the major championship level, 24th at the Scottish Open, 42nd at the Open Championship, inside the top 20 after 2 rounds. It was like, okay, Thriston is really kind of showing a different elevation of the game. Third at the Irish Open leading into that too. So it was all of that kind of accumulating. And again, odds are shorter. I think the longest you could probably get him might be 22. He opened at 25 at DraftKings Sportsbook and then was kind of bet down a little bit. But yeah, I think I'm willing, there's 2 golfers that both fit to me in the sense of what I've seen from the absolute trends of the best guys right now on the DP World Tour. And when we're in a set like this, I just have to bet them. The numbers are going to be bad. They're going to plug your nose and kind of get that. And I think Thriston Lawrence for me was 100% that clear cut from this top cut of the board.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talk about quite a lot. On Tour Tips, they do the adjusted score for kind of field strength, right? And over the last 8 weeks, Thriston Lawrence is number 1 in the form charts, and a guy you're going to come on to later is number 2. So certainly you've got to weigh that up. And like you said, it would have been nice if you look at the form figures of 36 third, 24, 42, and you think you can get a decent price. But it just so happens that everybody else is wildly disappointing. But it was quite funny earlier that I was looking through the strokes gained approach numbers, and I was like, oh, Marcus Armitage is first in strokes gained approach last week. How was that possible? And he finished 50th. And then I realized that everybody was listed as first in strokes gained approach that made the cut. So that was good fun. But that took 5 minutes of my process, out of the way. But I do understand the Thriston Lawrence thing. He's just playing. We see it all the time, right? I don't think people necessarily adjust for field strength too much in their plans. If you see current form of 36th, 3rd, 24th, and 42nd, you say, that's solid, but it doesn't look like he's going to win anytime soon. And actually, they're really good company, and now he's dropped down into something remotely poor. So I think that Lawrence is a good bet. I don't know, I just didn't get there in the end.
Yeah, and we know he's a winner. He's competed, he was these odds and lower in the Sunshine Tour events every time he's kind of teeing up. So he has it in him, I think it, but yeah, I don't disagree that it's none of these numbers are that stomaching.
But it's consistent across the board that there's no one that really stands out. So it doesn't really matter. Would you rather, if you think someone's going to win, I'd rather have a 20-1 winner than not win. So it seems really pointless to avoid it. So I like Thriston Lawrence.
I guess your card really is starting a bit deeper than mine. I guess I'll kind of fill up. Let's see, who's shortest of the 2 here. Let me see. And I guess we didn't really talk all that much about, I guess both these guys are 50-1, but about golfers playing in the Barbasol and Barracuda. I'm proud. I'm pretty proud of how our DP World Tour guys kind of showed up to both of those events. Should have had a win in the first one. The Cuda first round was littered with DP World Tour guys up at the top of the board. I really thought Stableford would help them out with the amount of doubles and triples and quads that they like to mix in at times. But it was, I would say, a good showing overall for the DP World Tour in both those events. Where the back end of the PGA Tour is just not as talented as what some of these cream of the crop guys in the, I guess, level down of the DP World Tour is. Do you have any apprehension on getting on any of them after the travel back? I know it's not easy probably to go from America over there on a Monday and then tee it right up, but they can golf.
Not necessarily. I think if they'd have had the troubles traveling back, they probably would have had them going out, right? And they didn't seem to. They went straight over there and played really well. So I don't think so. I think that it's fine. Did you know that Hurley Long was called Chris? Did you see this earlier?
I saw somebody. Ben
Ben
tweeted it.
Yeah,
and I thought he was joking, but then I thought for a second because there's a football player, Chris Long. So I just assumed, but I'm like, man, Ben doesn't follow the NFL.
No, he doesn't know enough at all
to know who Chris Long is.
No, that would be very niche. No, his name is Chris, and his middle name isn't even really Hurley. It's in German or something. And he just calls himself Hurley, which I thought was amazing. Isn't that the guy out of Lost? Is his name Hurley?
Yeah. I mean, let's see. I thought
he finished fourth and seventh. To circle back to your point, he finished fourth and seventh in two PGA Tour events, which is pretty decent showing, as was Helle Kilder.
Does he get? He doesn't get a spot start though, does he? Because it's an alternate event. They don't give him the.
I don't think so, unless they've changed it because it's kosher. Because it's now, I don't know.
Because he was in the Monday qualifier field. But he's not anymore. He was going to tee it up there and play. But yeah, unfortunately, he isn't in there anymore. But yeah, some of these guys now do have an opportunity for Korn Ferry Tour finals potentially, or if they can really make a run at sponsors exemptions. Like the other one I mentioned, Dean Burmeister, Dean with back-to-back. That was one of our better calls too of last week. Very interested by Dean and showed out. He played exceptionally well. And so him back-to-back, I think 11ths, really, really strong. And why I ask all this, because one of the other guys, there's two guys here at 50-1 that I'm intrigued at. 51's their deepest odds available here stateside. First one will be Sean Crocker. Bet Crocker last week at the Barracuda. Bet Crocker at probably, I mean, he was the bet of the week. What was it? At the Porsche?
Yeah.
And so we were intrigued there. And then, I think the back and forth, I mean, with the first radar, he shows up for us. He pops a little bit in Soudal or at the Soudal Open, and then qualifies for the US Open, flies back to Germany, flies back to the US, terrible weeks. And then he shows some life again. BMW, Horizon, make cuts, really good irons. Scottish Open, I believe he's inside the top 20, if not the top, I think top 10 early, but top 20 after the first round of the Scottish Open. Did not perform well the rest of the way. Then comes over, plays the Barracuda, finishes 13th. Just a lot of life out of Sean Crocker recently. And he is somebody who can win on some big stages. We know his game is very, very strong when it's at kind of all cylinders. So I just think, again, consistent life out of him is something. It's going to be a lot. It's a lot to go there and back in 2 weeks and to play. But I don't know. It just stands out to me from an opportunity standpoint. I think Crocker is the first one. And then the second one, if I'm talking about bang on form, numbers still okay, from the standpoint. Sammy Valimaki might be here, man. He comes out 3 consistent weeks. His T24 at the Scottish Open, Tom, that was good. That was good. It was a little sad. I mean, those are the calls that you make, and it's it doesn't pay off in the same aspect as, of course, hitting in each way or hitting a place bet. But man, 24th, that's probably realistically outside of his win, the best event he's ever played, right?
Yeah, which is wild for someone like him, right? But I think I sort of joked that it should have come with a warning when you put him up at the Scottish Open, right? But he's backed it up now. 4th, 30th, 24th in 3 straight weeks is really good, and he like to Crocker and to him and to, Thurston Lawrence, like they're in better field. So, you have to kind of take that with more stock or put more stock into it, right? And I think with him, so I think you say about the travel and does it matter? I think it matters to others more. I think it's a mental thing that, like, do you think Sean Crocker would struggle more? And, I'm thinking about when he struggled after the US Open, because he ultimately is from the United States, ultimately wants to live out there, has to leave his family to come back home to Europe. Whereas the guys that have been out to America see it as a vacation and a golf week and then come back home. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe there's just something about the mentality of coming home versus coming back over to Europe to play again when you really just ultimately want to be in America. Maybe something like that. But I mean, for a guy that's dedicated his whole career so after to playing in Europe, I suppose that's probably not an issue.
Yeah. And we could probably overthink it. At the end of the day, they're all teeing it up on Thursday. There's probably a lot more that have different conditions and things going on that we have no clue about, that, you will never know. So, no. But yeah, I love everything Valimaki is trending. He played exceptional on the final round of the Scottish Open. I believe he shot the round of the day, or one of the, like, he had the best irons. He was like, and that's the thing. If you compare those irons with what we know in a really, really good putter, that's kind of what gets it done here. Is just, you can't overpower all that much. You got to putt well. You got to strike it well. And that's where he's been trending the most, is those three categories. And he finally got it off the tee a little bit. And to have those numbers against, some of the best in the PGA Tour, like, and to get him at 50s again, man, like, I think I'm definitely pushing the chips in and Sammy.
This is one of those ones I just couldn't get over I guess you call it sticker shock or whatever. Like, he's gone from like 400 to 1 to 40 over here, and I was like, I just can't do it. Like, yeah. And I'm going to be the person to the wrong, so it really doesn't matter. But like, yeah, he was the second best round of the day in the final round of the Scottish Open. Jason Scrivener shot 65, and then Wiedenhout, Kitayama, Valimaki, Mitchell shot 66. So not bad company on that final day. I think it's good. I think he's playing really well, and if we'd have said a year ago Valimaki's 50 to 1 when he's trending, you would be really happy, wouldn't you? So I suppose you just got to kind of take away the field strength, take away everything else, and realise it's the right number.
I was going to say, what was he in the Irish? Do we know? I guess you can pull up the Betfair numbers that week. I'm just curious.
I'm pretty sure he was like 400 to 1 still.
He was still, because I know he was 600 in the Scottish.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Irish. I think it's important, because that is a massive.
We normally talk about people going from like 120 to 60, and you're like, okay, well that's
okay.
half.
No, he was 125 to 1 that week.
Really?
Yeah. On your website.
Wow.
Let's checker. 150 was the longest he was that week. So, but yes, so at the Scottish,
I suppose he just finished fourth, right? Though, hadn't he? Just finished fourth for the BMW.
Yeah. So if you went to the BMW,
BMW, he was that would be where he was 400 to 1 then.
Yeah.
I know his recent memory.
300, I can see there, and that's not. On the exchange, I'm sure he was very deep.
So it's one of those, like, you probably just have to, like, maybe people are just taking a little bit longer to adjust to the fact that he's actually just back playing some of his better stuff, and he's never been that consistent. All of a sudden, he's had 3 really good results. I mean, you have to go back to COVID times for when he was like 13th, 18th, 13th, 5th, and really looking like he was going to win. So, and even before that, kind of like 2nd, 6th, and 10th. So this is probably a really good run, and the 30th and the 24th in those Irish and Scottish Opens are probably better than we give him credit for. So I'm coming around to it. I'm closer to it than
Monday.
I thought I was.
We got time, Tom. We'll get you there.
Yeah, just keep pressing me. I mean, I purposely haven't got someone from this kind of range because I can be talked into one. So it took everything in my power not to bet Ross Fisher again.
Of course,
I can't do it. I thought you might like JC Ritchie as well at the same price, but
yeah. I wasn't. He hasn't played in a while. I guess, is he on Live? Does he play in the Live? I feel like he was in a Live event. Maybe rumored. Let's see, for Richie. Last time it's just been. I swear I did. Yeah, he finished 17th in the London event. He played the first one.
So there's the issue then, is he's miscut and then gone 17th there. But He was doing some good stuff before then. He just struck. Like, I just
For
always
sure.
vividly remember him playing well at the Open Championship, not for long, but he played well and finished 40th in the end. And he was 8th in the British Masters this year as well. So, like, as much as it's not the same golf course, he obviously can play as part of the world well. So, I thought he was someone of interest, but I'm getting closer to this Valimaki. I feel like I can get on board with Wacky.
Yeah. If I'm making one bet this week, like across all the tours, it's Wacky Valimaki. We got to make sure Pat's on. Pat loves Sammy.
Yeah.
And he
I
played.
don't think it'll take too much convincing, will it?
No. But yeah, so I think that's where I'm intrigued the most there. So now we start to get into your neck of the woods. Couple golfers here in the mid range. That one young gun, I think he's young. Was definitely younger than your other guy there. If we have two,
that's not hard, is it? Yeah.
No, but talk us through your mid range selections here.
Yeah, so Frederick Lacroix for me just really kind of stood out, and like he's a guy that we talked a little bit about at the start of the season because he was coming up and playing some good golf on the Challenge Tour last year, and he's another guy. If you look at the current form and tour tips, he's 7th for adjusted scoring, and he was 2nd after round 1 and 4th after round 2 in Ireland and kind of fell away, but he was also tied 10th in Germany the week before and shot a 67 round 2, 66 round 4. So. I think that was tied for the best of the day that final day as well. So when you look at the fact he was 24th in the Dutch Open after a slow start, it just feels to me like he's playing some really solid golf. So although statistically he doesn't ever seem to stand out since he's come up to this level, he's actually first in the field in strokes gained approach over the last 8 weeks. So 10th and 18th his last 2 starts. So that's good. And just for the fact that we know he can contend, the only slight concern I have with him is I don't think, did he even ever win on the Challenge Tour last year, despite all that good form? But I think he did.
No, he didn't. The last win he has on the Alps, I think he was like a 2-time winner on the Alps.
Yeah, so he went. I think everyone was kind of looking at him as like he's going to do this kind of Matt Wallace thing where he's just going to go up and win on each level. And no, he was 2nd in Portugal, 4th at Swiss Challenge, 2nd again at the Grand Tour final. I think is the kind of thing that stood out, and he was only sort of 1 behind Heather Kilder, but. Yeah, I think he's just been good. Like 21st in the British Masters, 24th in the Dutch Open, 10th in the International Open, 37th in the Horizon Open in Ireland. And all of a sudden, apart from that little run of form his cuts, he's just been really, really solid since coming on tour. So you can't just discount form his cuts, obviously. But I think in this field, he's actually one of the more informed players.
Yeah, those irons, he hasn't lost to the field since the Catalonia Championship, and I think that's even when he was missing those cuts. He was doing it elsewhere. So definitely intrigued there. If I go by best odds, let me see. I'll let you go into next. Let's talk. I mean, if you say you have a Ross Fisher problem, if you say I have a Guido problem,
it used to be an Ollie Wilson problem, which is now
you've gotten over that one. But
rehab. Yeah,
I mean it's getting time that you're getting close to a Paul Waring problem.
It is, but there just feels like there's just something to keep putting me back in. And the trouble is that like it's just course form and no one else has it. He was 6th here in, I think it was 2019, like we said at the top at the British Masters, better field. Obviously a little while ago now, and he was in hot form, right? So that's got to be considered. When you think about the Nordea, that's a wide open layout. He's been 3rd in Dunhill Links. He plays well in the desert, top 7 in Ireland in the past. Like Paul Waring just has the goal for this. To top it all off, he is actually from Merseyside, where Hillside is. Whether that helps Paul Waring, I don't know. He's like 105 years old, and it doesn't really matter where he plays. But like, when you look at it, like 9th at the Volvo, 26th for the International Open. I think I bet him at Sadal. Maybe when I bet him, or maybe I bet him at the Dutch after he played well at Sadal, but when he missed the cut, but. It just feels like he keeps kind of flirting with the idea of playing well and doesn't. And, we like those guys, the guys that just keep just giving us something to go by and don't not only finish it off. So why bet everybody else, bet everyone else is when we can just bet Paul Waring, which I always like the fact they've got to clarify what year he was born in because there's like 2 Paul Warings on OWGR and you think, oh, God, he is getting on a little bit now. Paul Waring, May 1996. I don't know who that is.
Well, it's not the one you're betting.
It's not.
This week.
1985, the original Paul Waring.
Yes, the OG.
He's like. I just feel like it's a links layout. One that he's played well before. It's his part of the country. If he doesn't play well here, I may just give up on him.
Fair. It's fair. You probably won't, but
No,
he'll probably be like deep, going deep on like early Saturday morning. And then it's enough for us to.
You know what he'll do? He'll be like top
well.
10 off the tee, and I'll just go, the rest of it will come together eventually, and it won't. His irons will still be mediocre. But again, Paul Waring fourth in this field over the last 8 weeks in straight skating approach.
Yeah. No, he's shown life, respective of everything going on. If I talk about life, though, and you talk about form, unfortunately, Mayo Kim has withdrawn from the field. But in similar-esque type of betting, we talked about the Challenge Tour guys getting some opportunities this week. The one that is top of my list is Jens Dantorp. And it's really been on my list since the Challenge de España when he won. That was one of the and I was running back through, I wish I still had the numbers up. But it was like one of the most weather impacted events that I had seen in like a good time. It was like a 4 or 5 stroke difference in waves. And like he beat his wave by like an insane amount on some of these days. Like he really showed out in these final 54 holes. Like he was like so much better than the rest of it, because he opened with a 74 in his win and then he just blitzed it the rest of the way. But yeah, he's gone from that win 5th, 3rd, miscut 10th out there. Clearly, to me, the best kind of informed Challenge Tour player. And what we've seen him, play DP World Tour events, for I guess probably the 2020 we saw a good amount. 2019 he was kind of full time on the tour playing. It wasn't anything a T3 at the Scottish Open if you kind of bring up some of the kind of links fashion in 18. But yeah, I just think Jens Dantorp is just showing enough of in form, and at that number of what's going on in this field, I think it's ripe for the picking right there. I think you can get him as deep as 100-1 still. That for me, yeah, when I'm kind of dripping down the board a little bit, I'm definitely in there.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things with Jens Dantorp. Is like the first argument people are going to say is that like he's a Challenge Tour expert and not very good when he steps up, right? And that has to be considered. Like he's won on 2013, one in 2017, one in 2022. So I'm pretty comfortable that he's gone for a career of winning. Like, I like that. It's all at the lower level. But like you say, 3rd in the Scottish Open, a very good field. Brandon Stone just played unbelievable golf to win that week. 3rd at the Nordea Masters. We just talked about that with Paul Waring. You kind of get a nice open layout. That's always good. 35th at Wentworth. Again, doesn't stand out as much to people, but that's a good thing to do in England. Like, it's a prestige event. He actually got to a slow start that week. And when I looked at it, like I always like to do this at the moment. Like I did it with Tora Hatton last week 2 weeks ago for the Scottish, right? When I was just looking at how they play at the relative tour that we're talking about. So in this case, Dantorp is stepping up as opposed to Hatton stepping down from the PGA Tour, right? But last 5 times he's played the DP World Tour, made all the cuts. They haven't all been pretty. They're like 61st at the Kenya Open, 62nd at Qatar. But Sadao, he was 23rd and he was 15th after 54 holes, shot 72 and still only finished 2 shots shy of the top 10. So I feel like now you look at that, and since he's finished 23rd in Sadao, he's gone 1st, 5th, 3rd, miscut 10th on the Challenge Tour. He's been in this type of form before on the Challenge Tour and not stepped it up, but like it just feels like what he showed at Sadao, similar quality of field, good layout for him. I like where things are going for Jens Dantorp.
Yep. I can definitely get behind all of that. Normally I'm kind of racking up selections. With Bio withdrawing, you knew I would have been betting there. I only have one more kind of on the board as we go. I believe you have one last one under 100-1 here. And we'll talk about my long shot. We can talk a little bit through some of the other guys maybe down here too. So round out your last selection here.
Yeah, so mine was Santiago Bentario Santiago, whatever way you want to put it round. The guy from Spain with 3 names, right? He's solid, and we saw it last year. We were quite excited about him coming on. Never really kind of took off, but like 21st at the British Masters, 33rd in Sadao, 3rd at the Volvo, 16th in Ireland, which is in a good field. He's one of those guys that's been over to the States and not quite done it. 60th in miscut, but I just like it the way he's hitting the ball. His ball striking numbers look good. Just solid. And that's everything that I really want from Bentario. I'm pretty sure he played really well in England at some point last year. It's the Hero Open. I think he was third, and it was the week that Grant Forrest won. And he didn't
He
really
was right in the thick of it.
Yeah, never really did too much wrong, I don't think. He finished 3 shots shy, but he shot a final round 68 when he had a chance to win, and I think that's fine. So, you look at the scores, it was kind of James Morrison shot 63 out of nowhere, Forrest shot a 66, and then 68 was pretty much the best of the rest. So, I like Santiago Bentario. I think he's fine in this level of field. I probably wouldn't be looking to play with a regular week, but just one that feels like maybe a slight cut above Challenge Tour and, not going to take much winning. I thought he sort of stood out to me.
Are you worried at all about his Grayson Murray situation last week? Did you see that?
I did not, but go on and put me off.
No, it's really no big deal. But there was a tweet by our friend Monday Q saying that that Grayson hit into the group ahead of him, which ended up being Santiago Tarrio, and didn't say anything. And then Tarrio confronted him in the scorers table afterwards, and it ended up being a yelling match, and they had to escort Grayson Murray out.
Wow. There's a guy you don't want to be just mucking about with. It's probably just Grayson Murray. Just let him be mad on his own, right? He could probably beat himself up. So just, let him do his own thing. That feels like a little
maybe
bit.
It's more fuel to the fire for you. Maybe he's coming in hot off.
Yeah, he's going to come back and just be like, look, goddamn Grayson Murray, and just make a few
go
putts.
On a tear.
That's pretty much all I've got on Bentario. You've actually made a more exciting development on him than I had planned. So I like that. It's good fuel. But I'm very intrigued about your last guy, because there's always one. There's always one that I don't know. And it normally means that you and Brad have been cooking it up, and I find it out an hour later as to what you and Brad have been cooking up behind my back. And I'm interested to hear about this guy that isn't what I thought he was.
You've hyped him up a lot. And I tried to do, my due diligence.
Have you spoken to Brad about this one? Or is this
No. I'm pulling up his Patreon now, because I know we crossed the line. Is he on him as well?
I don't know.
See.
It just feels like something that he would do.
He's on another long shot, actually. I don't, but we do align now on some PGA Tour guys. But Aman Gupta is the last selection here. He opened at 500s on DraftKings. It's been slashed. I don't know if there's people are definitely on, and this is really, to me, I want, these are the guys that intrigue me the most. These opportunities that, you mentioned Chris Gotterup earlier, kind of, getting the opportunities. And this is a really odd one. Aman Gupta is Oklahoma State senior. So he's turned pro now.
Yeah.
I don't believe he got into the PGA Tour. I think actually he's gotten two Korn Ferry Tour starts post graduating here, and made the cut. I guess he got in 3. He's made the cut in both of these. He missed the cut last year when he played in 1. T23, T48. If I look at Data Golf's got some amateur rankings on it. The one that I really like too is Jeff Sagarin. Always has some really good college ratings. He had Gupta as the 24th ranked golfer in the NCAAs just this past year. Gotterup was first in that. But you look at some of the other guys that are kind of right in the mix of him. Pearson Coody, of course, kind of dominating so far on the Korn Ferry Tour, might be stealing himself a PGA Tour card already. You see Travis Fick, low AM, at the U.S. Open there, kind of in the same neck of woods. He was ahead of Michael Bjornsson in that ranking, who finished 4th at the Travelers Championship. Ryan Hall is another name that kind of got some starts in the Korn Ferry Tour, who just played well this past week. These young guys, you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
Somebody who was, I think, lower than him, Joe Highsmith, who got that start last week at the Barracuda. Highsmith has lost in the playoff and then finished 4th in his 2 Mackenzie Tour starts. So I think you put a bunch of these guys in this odd range as him into Korn Ferry Tour events. I don't think they're coming back with those same results that he did, and you had to think about the pedigree of what, kind of Gupta, you have to get to, Oklahoma State and be in recruiting class and be one of their best golfers. He had finishes of 3rd and 5th in the Big 12 championship. He had gotten to the semifinals at Bandon in the U.S. Amateur when he played there. I think he lost to the kid that ended up winning it. Name slipping my head now. But he was right there in the semis, and he took down some big guys as he went through kind of the USA in there. So like when you get these opportunities to take a risk, especially when it was 500 to 1, like that was, I mean, it's down to like 125 at some spots. I think the best odds, what's the best odds you guys got over there?
150.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at, so he defeated, if you go through that USAN, he beat Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett made the cut at the US Open, played decent there, was up there. I mean, he beat Thor Bjornsson, and then he lost by 1 to Strafacci in the semis.
This one is catching my eye that he was third in the NIT, which I have no idea what that was, right? But
yes.
Eugenio Chichara won it.
Yeah.
Gupta third, Colehammer fifth, Gotter up ninth, Travis Vick 11th.
Yeah, they graded that, and the Augusta Haskins Award, where he finished 4th, that was the week after the men's NIT. They graded that one a little bit better on Data Golf, even there too, which was in 21. And then the Big 12 Championship and that NIT, yeah, right there. Like those were really, really good events for him. So, like, again, it's just a question of we just haven't seen him, and he's clearly got some type of amateur pedigree, and these golfers. Especially, I mean, you just take shots. In my opinion, you just take the shots at the odds, and you hope. I mean, it does. Someone clearly tipped him, or someone got grabbed early. Yeah, 160 is the lowest now on the state side for him. I mean, I'm still like, when it's like 160 versus like 320. Just say it was 320. Like it really isn't that much of a 5 or a 10 or a 15 or $20 bet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, depending on what it may be for you there. Like, I think you can find a way to get to the guy if you have the belief, if he's still triple digits like that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where like he probably should never have been 500 to 1. So it's like, although you're disappointed if you've missed it, like it's not now you can't bet it because he should be 500 to 1. You're taking a flyer, right? He's probably now priced somewhat correctly, and someone just made a mistake in the first instance. Because when you look at when he was 48th last time out in the Corn Ferry, he shot a fine around 74, and he was playing much better before, 76, 770, and another 70 gives him inside the top 25. I always like to kind of look at, like, if you throw out that one bad round, what they could have done. And I know you can't do that. It's golf. It's a 4-round event. But like, again, the Wichita, when he was 23rd, like he opened 70. So he starts slow, but then goes 66, 65, 67 in an event that's got some really, strong players in it. Talk about Vincent Norman, we talk about Pearson Cooley, we talk about Norman Jong winning that in the end. I mean, he hasn't been a strong player for a while, but he was tied with Michael Kim, who was someone I was going to bet on the PGA Tour this week until he decided to go back to Corn Ferry, which makes a lot of logistical sense. So, it now makes sense to me. It's one of those ones where I'm probably a little bit behind on that. I feel like I don't seem to get into the kind of college stuff as much as I should, but we're learning very quickly. And I was thinking about this, and this is another thing I want to do. And interestingly, I think maybe you're someone that can help me out with this. Is like every time on commentary at the moment, it's like these guys are just coming out ready to win quicker than ever before. And I'm just wondering whether if we look back at every single PGA Tour season since, let's say, 95. Let's go back to like when Mickelson and Tiger were winning as rookies. How many seasons does a rookie win?
Yeah.
Because I reckon it's probably more than we think. And I think it'll be like rookies that you just don't remember winning. And like, I know it's because Victor Hovland and Colin Morikawa, are winning contended majors, and Matthew Wolff, and I get it. But like, it feels like we're creating something that, not that doesn't exist, because it is still true, but like I feel like it was probably always the case. It's just because Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson and Furyk, VJ, etc. were so dominant that like you just didn't hear about these storylines as much as you do now, because it's kind of leveled the player field. So I don't know. I could go back for 15 years and no one won as a rookie, and they're absolutely right to say what they say, but I feel like it was probably something that's happened before.
Yeah, and like, I mean, the Zalatoris run was incredible. It really was. And I mean, following Ryan and following the Corn Ferry Tour, as much as there is somebody like that in some senses, like every year. Like Patrick Flavin's probably that guy this year. TJ Vogel was that guy last year. You know what I mean? Like, where they set themselves up for tour cards. And now Zalatoris did it to the 10th degree that, you couldn't get any better than that. But finding the opportunities and getting in the mix and doing that, yes, they're and like with everything like going on, like that's I want more opportunities for those type of things to happen.
You're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, right? Like you would want Gupta to be in the field in the PGA Tour this week. Yeah. Like as much as it's great he's over here and it helps us out, like why is he not playing the PGA Tour? He's just played really well in 2 Corn Ferry starts. Maybe he's not the one. Maybe there should be people ahead of him, of course. But like, stories like that. I mean, like Thigala's probably been one of the most polarizing like storylines of the season. And like this was a guy that we wanted to bet 2 years ago when he was 400 to 1, and it felt like we had really limited opportunities to do it. And all of a sudden it's now too late to get those kind of fancy numbers on him. So I think it's something that you've got to keep an eye on. You've got to be plugged into. That's how you find him on Gupta in the Cazoo. What is it? Kazoo Open or Kazoo Classic? There's 2.
Kazoo Classic this week. Yeah.
So don't get confused. If you bet the Kazoo Open, you're going to be early. So bet the Kazoo Classic. Was there anyone else for you? I mean, I'm just looking down the kind of like board, and I looked at Ashley Chester's because I always look at Ashley Chester's, and that's just disappointment. It doesn't work out. I thought Matthew Baldwin might have been quite interesting because it's in Liverpool and it's links, and that's kind of his jam.
That's the one that Brad's on of long shots. Yeah, Paul.
There you go. So it makes sense. Like I can see the appeal to it.
I kind of like Josh Geary, but he's pretty short too. He's
so he was the one that like he caught my eye again when you're talking about just current form and looking at who's doing well. But like when you compared him to Jens Dansop early on in terms of price, and Dansop has shown it more than Josh Geary. I mean, Geary has played some decent golf before on the DP World Tour. I'm pretty sure he's shot a couple of good early rounds, but like it's never been massive. I think he's 6th in Himalayan was his best finish, so that's decent. And I think he was up there for a good period of time. So look, he opened 6-9 and shot 6-7, 6-8, 6-7, and it was again just a case of Guido being very, very good. And who came second that week, Sky?
We don't have to talk about it.
Sure, fun around 63 to come second.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's just one of those ones where like I could see probably 10 and 15 players winning this week that are just horrendous prices that I just couldn't get to. Like
there was I used to always love this guy because I think his irons were showing, and he kind of is like if you can be a worse Ashley Chester's, maybe like Pedro Figueiredo might be someone.
I knew you were going to say Pedro Figueiredo as soon as you said a worse Ashley Chester's, and I was looking at Pedro earlier because
he's kind of trending a little bit on the challenge for 12th, 26th, 50th. He used to be really accurate, just incredibly short off the tee, and could find some irons.
And he is the Jens Dansop without the current Jens Dansop form. Yeah. They actually both finished tied 58th in 2019 at the British Masters, but like. Interesting enough, I use Pedro Figueiredo. Sometimes I like click on the leaderboard on OWGR and I'll think like, who can I rely on to click on from here that would have played in an event I want to look at 2 years ago? Yes. And I was like, right, so he's in the Challenge Tour this week. Pedro Figueiredo, he would definitely have played the 2019 British Masters somehow. Went back, alas, there he was, and that was his only use for me this week. But nice. He's a name. He's a guy.
I saw Ben. If we talked amateurs, Ben was back on Laird Shepherd. He's had a really tough go since winning the amateur championship, but does have that links pedigree, kind of in some ways, So Shepherd, like from a speculative side, and his odds remained very, very long compared to Gupta's, who kind of got shot down a little bit. Oriole had a T10 recently. Anton Carlson, a couple top 15s. I mean, you could just
like he's kind of standing out a little bit on the Challenge Tour again as well. Didn't we have this debate before that Anton Carlson isn't Robert Carlson's son? I think I tried to make that connection. That it definitely isn't true.
Yeah, I think it was declared false.
Yeah, yes. That was so before. Like whenever I say things, guys, fact check me. Not because I do things intentionally to mislead. I'm just a little bit dumb sometimes and make things up. And Anton Carlson was not Robert Carlson's son, but it makes sense, right? They're Swedish and both good at golf, so that was about it. What about Daniel Hillier?
He came off a really good finish last week, right?
Yeah, 7th last week, and
he's got a lot of upside.
Yeah.
Probably coming off. I don't know. He withdrew in the middle there. I mean, OWGR, he's like top 20 in this field. of guys. I mean, he definitely
But didn't he
has.
nearly win a DP World Tour event just out of nowhere?
Yeah,
Was it like
I think we were like on him too.
was it the Handa, the Northern Ireland thing?
Let's see.
Yeah, Daniel Gavins won. Hillier finished third.
Yes.
He shot a final around 70 and lost by 2. So there you go. He could have won that week. And that was Daniel Gavins, David Horsey, Canizares, Kawamura, Smith, Hillier.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty impressive little list. And when you look, the field strength is probably quite similar to what we're playing here. I mean, behind him you had Catlin, Hugo Leon, Darius Van Driel, Harding, Farr. So actually it might even have been better. Vincent Norman was there. Ben Tarrio was there 15th. So maybe, you're talking about the people that we've kind of liked this week. Kind of fits the bill a little bit, maybe.
Alfie Plant sandwiched a win between 5 miscuts on the Challenge Tour. Challenge Tour, like, it's just been wild this year.
Really strange golfer, Alfie Plant. Like, never seems to be able to kick on from a good result. Like, wins and miscuts, goes away, wins, miscut. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, he's never quite lived up to. Because he was like the top amateur, wasn't he? Or low amateur, sorry, at 2017 Open.
It was like a really good,
Yeah, hasn't kicked on.
Well, if we're talking Alfie Plant, we got to probably land the plane here.
We have got to land the plane. I think that's probably the end, isn't it? I've certainly had enough of talking about this event anyway. But
all right, close us out. What's your card?
So I've got Frederick Lefroy. I don't know whatever price he is on the end there. Just take that. I'm happy with that. Jens Dantorp with you, Sky, Santiago Bentario, and the 1985 Paul Waring.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. My dog barked also for your first selection there, so maybe that is a good sign.
That's a great omen. Was it Paul Waring 1985?
No, it was Frederick Lefroy. So
that's definitely the better
one. Thurston Lawrence, 20-1. Again, plugging our nose with some odds this week. Sean Crocker, 50-1. Sammy Valimaki, 50-1. You're putting that on Tom's card as well.
Yes.
That is definitely better the week that we have there. And then Jens Dentorp for me, 100-1 is the longest we can get him. And then Aman Gupta at 160-1 this week. Probably get top 5, top 10 in there with him. But yeah, I think again, the end of the day, the fields might be getting worse. We might see some tough times in between these schedules. We're showing up, Tom. We like the opportunity. We're going to find Aman Guptas along the way. And one of these times, Tom, they're going to win this thing.
The greatest thing is like when Aman Gupta's winning on the PGA Tour next year, we'll recall this conversation and our producer will clip it. And you at least will look really smart. As long as we clip out the bit where I said, I don't know who this guy is, then I can look smart too. So, I like it.
You can bet the exacta with him and Valimaki. Take it to the window. Good luck, everybody, this week, and we'll catch you next.